Hebrew. We don't speak Aramaic. We do speak Hebrew, though. When I say Hebrew, I don't mean the Yiddish version. I mean the original version. Same language that Moses spoke, same language Christ spoke. All the prophets of the so-called Old Testament speak the same language. Hey, Shalom. How about you, man? Thumb. Y'all small thumb. I'll shoot y'all shot to the sister. We are the ISUPK out of 1 West 125th Street, out of Harlem, New York. Under the commanding General Yohana. We teach Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans the truth according to the Bible, history, archaeology, and anything else you may need to satisfy your mind. You understand? Most High in Christ. Christ spoke both. Show me where he spoke both. Christ was an Israelite who spoke his native tongue. It's that simple. Christ was an Israelite and he spoke his native tongue. I know we were under the Roman persecution at the time of Christ, very true, but he had no reason to speak any dialect outside of the dialect of his people. So you understand, that's exactly what Christ spoke. But again, if you want to bring me any type of sources to show different, you can bring it to me. We can, I'll definitely get into it if need be. But right now, we're about to get into why Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans need God's laws more than ever. You understand? So the first scripture I'm going to go to, where is my Bible? Is that what I want? Yeah, that's what I want. Matter of fact, I can leave that right there. Get one of these. And if you're in the Dayton or Southern Ohio region, we got plenty of Bibles. So if anybody needs a Bible, we got plenty of them. Not only do we break it down for you, we can actually give you your own Bible. So first scripture we're going to go to is Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy chapter 4. In verse 6. Again, if anybody has any questions, you can put them in the chat. Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 6. And like I said, the laws of God is what's going to fix the Black, Hispanic, and Native American community. We're looking for politicians and all the government to fix us. I was looking at this thing, it was on social media, but they were talking about what was the worst sport, and I'm paraphrasing it just to go through it real quick. They said, what was the worst sport? And they brought up all these allegations and all these things that men in this sport or in this field had done wrong and had broken the law by doing this, and abuse, physical abuse, child and spousal abuse, all those things. And guess what they said was the worst sport? It wasn't NBA, it wasn't NFL, it wasn't baseball. It was actually the government. You understand? It was actually the senators and all those people. They actually have a worse track record than athletes. The people that we rely on to help and fix our communities have a worse track record than athletes. You think athletes get it down? Your politicians, they don't nobody get more down and dirty than them. It's just we don't hear about it. We're not going to hear about most of it unless there's a big spectacle. Unless they're trying to run propaganda game on us, we're not going to hear about it. But nobody gets in more trouble. Nobody does more harm than the actual politicians that's supposed to be doing the exact opposite. This is why we need the Lord. This is why we need his laws. His laws will govern us. We don't need their laws to govern. They don't even listen to their laws. So why should we have to? We don't need to worry about their laws. They don't even listen to their laws. Not only that, they change their laws every 3 to 6 years. They changing the law. What was 3 to 6 years ago isn't anymore. What would have got in trouble for 3 to 6 years ago, now it's legal, or vice versa. So there's no reason to even worry about them and their laws. You let that govern them. As long as you obey the laws, statutes, commandments of God, you will do just fine within their laws. That's how you have to look at that. And this is why we need the Lord's laws, because not only will it make us okay within the confines of American law, but it will fix our communities. It'll bring mommy and daddy back into the household. It'll tell mommy exactly what her place is, daddy exactly what his place is. It'll tell our children exactly what their place is. And if we live according to that, guess what? That's what's going to build up our community. Not only our household, our community, our brotherhood, our sisterhood. We won't have to worry about black on black violence and things of that sort anymore, because we live by God's laws. That's what heals us. That's what fixes us. And when a black politician or a so-called black leader tries to rise up, we'll know if he's true or not, because God's laws let us know if that leader is true or not. Let's read this. Deuteronomy 4. What is it I want? Deuteronomy 4:6. The scripture reads, "Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations." These laws, statutes, and commandments, that's our wisdom and understanding in the sight of these nations. These nations, when we obey the laws, statutes, commandments of God, that's when these nations look at us, and that's when they're like, okay, these are a wise and understanding people. They have a lot of wisdom. The way they carry themselves, the way they conduct themselves, everything about them, from their men, their women, their children, they're different. They're set apart. The law is what makes us set apart. We can't be set apart if we live just like Americans. There's nothing different to set us apart if we live just like the local Edomite or Caucasian, or the local African or Hamite. There's nothing different about us. But what sets us apart is when no matter where we go on this earth, we live according to the laws of God. And they see we conduct ourselves in a specific manner, in a peculiar manner, in a different way than everybody else. That's literally what it means to be set apart. What sets us apart? The way we live our life. How do we live our life? According to the laws of God. When we do that, that's how we become holy. Because I guarantee you, no one outside of Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans even understand the law to live according to it. No one else does. You understand? Most High in Christ says, let's see if we got a question. Gospels of Matthew and Mark record Jesus using Aramaic terms and phrases. Okay, no sweat. Again, like I said, we know for a fact he spoke his original dialect. For one, the original Hebrew, and that's another thing. The language barrier is something that a lot of people don't understand, because the original Hebrew is something that it's not even really like an understood or known language today. There is nowhere you can go to say, okay, this is the exact language that Moses spoke. Like even the Hebrew today is Yiddish, it's watered down. That's what, when we say Hebrew, people think of the Yiddish. They don't think of what Moses spoke. They think of the Yiddish. That's not, Moses didn't speak Yiddish. He didn't speak that. He would have looked at them and laughed. What are you talking about? That's not that's not the dialect of Israelites. So to say that without truly understanding the original dialect is kind of ignorant. You understand? So I hear you, but you would have to show me how whatever terms you think is Aramaic, show me how those terms aren't truly Hebrew terms. When I say truly Hebrew terms, meaning you can go to the original dialect and show that these are terms we did not use. So if you can do that, then we can have a conversation. But without that, there's nothing to talk about, because that's the dialect of the people. That was their original dialect, Hebrew. Anyway, so back to the lesson at hand. Yeah, the laws is what's going to change our communities. You understand? No matter where we go on this earth, if we don't eat pork, shrimp, crab, and lobster, if we keep the holy order of God, meaning the Most High, Christ, man, woman, child, if we keep that righteous order, no matter where we go, that dynamic, guess what? We are going to be a separated people. People are going to look at us and see that we live differently. Why? Because when we do that, that God is with us then. That's when God will be with you. Everybody want to say, well, I know the Lord got me. He go before. I'm going to be honest. You don't know if you're not living according to what God said, you can't know that. You just can't. I know if you want to feel it, you want to believe it, but if you're not doing it according to how God says do it, then it's nothing to talk about. You understand? There's absolutely nothing to talk about. So it sounds good, and I hear you, but can you show me in the scriptures where the way you conduct yourself in your life on your day-to-day basis is according to God? If you can't, then I can't say God is with you. The scripture says even a sinner's prayer is an abomination. I'm paraphrasing, but even a sinner's prayer is an abomination to the Most High God. He's not hearing their prayers. So being a Christian, that tells me you don't understand, because most Christians don't understand you can't keep sinning and pray to God and think he's answering that. That's not how that goes. You have to stop sinning. You have to fight against sin. And when you keep the law, statutes, commandments of God, that's what your daily fight is, to fight against sin. Let's keep reading. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. That's what they're supposed to be saying about us, because we serve the Most High God by obeying him and living according to his law, statutes, commandments. But guess what? They say the exact opposite thing about Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans today. Why? Why do they say the exact opposite? Because we don't live according to his laws. We live according to how we feel. We live according to how we think and how we feel. And that's our problem now. We think what we think and what we feel means something. If that truly mattered, we would have never went into slavery. If what we thought and what we felt meant something, we would have never went into slavery, people. We got to realize that. We went into slavery because God was tired of how we thought and how we felt. It was against him. Therefore, he put us in slavery. Therefore, we had to serve the most wicked and base people on earth. And we still serve them to this day. If we want to get along, we have to go to the wicked. We want to start a business, we go to the wicked. We really want to make real financial gain or difference in this society, we have to go to the people of the wicked. Nothing. We still are under that bondage. We don't have our own government. We don't have our own land. We don't have our own military force. We don't have our own monetary system. We don't have any of that. And at one point, we had all that and some. Let's drop this. Let's go to Deuteronomy. Let's go to Deuteronomy 13. Deuteronomy 13. Matter of fact, let's go to Jeremiah 23, and we're going to come back to Deuteronomy. Go to Jeremiah 23. Jeremiah 23 and 25. Because I know a lot of black Hispanic and Native Americans, favorite leader, one of their favorite leaders of this, I guess, of this era of life, Martin Luther King Day just passed. And, all of us honor him and glorify him and think that he did good and he meant well. And for the majority of his life, he was on the side of wicked. It wasn't until his last couple months that he realized what he had done was horrible. It went against his people. He says, you can look this up, and I'm paraphrasing it, but one of Dr. Martin Luther King's last phrases was, or sayings that he did say during his life, and this was during the last couple months of his life. He said, I'm afraid that I've led my people into a burning house or a house of flames, something of that sort. And what he was saying was, everything I've been fighting for goes against the nature of, or goes against the benefit of my people. So everything he was fighting for didn't go for his people, it went against his people. Like, for instance, we had black Wall Streets in black communities where it was black doctors, black theaters, black this, black that, black owned mom and pop shops and everything. Now we went away from that to integrate. Well, if you integrate with the people that hate you, if you integrate with the people that's truly in power, guess what? Our businesses go to the wayside. And all we do is build their businesses up, because not only are they getting their money, now they're getting our money. This is why the dollar doesn't stay in our community. This is why we're looking to outsource help instead of having the help from within, because our dollar leaves our community. It has to. We don't have anything. It's the only way we can survive now. Because of Dr. Martin Luther King's so-called dream, now we have to outsource everything. Where before, everything we needed was in home. So we didn't need that. We should have never integrated. We should have stayed segregated. And we have to fight to get back to that point. That has to be the ultimate goal. Because even when you look in the scriptures, God always separated his people. God always separated his people. Never or not at one point did God say, you know what, let me join my people with the other nations and let them all be one and sing kumbaya. God never did that. Every time you've seen that starting to happen in the scriptures, God separated the nations. There's at least 2 or 3 occasions in the Old Testament alone where you read God separating the children of Israel, separating the children of Israel. Matter of fact, let's get a couple of those scriptures before we go to Jeremiah. Hold that Jeremiah 20:23. Let me see. We can go back and read this. God was a God of separation. Let's go to Leviticus chapter 20, verse 26. Leviticus chapter 20, verse 26. Let's read this real quick, if we could. Because somebody show me where God wanted to integrate all nations, where God wanted all nations to come together as one. God never wanted that. That was always the will of Satan. That was always the will of evil. It's Leviticus chapter 20, verse 26. 26. And ye shall be holy unto me, for I am the Lord. And Salaki, I'm going to start that over. Leviticus chapter 20, verse 26. And ye shall be holy unto me. Holy means separate. That's literally what holy means. Holy means separate, meaning we are separate unto the Most High God. So there already he's showing you, you shall be separate from me, separate to me. The children of Israel, blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans are separate from everybody else on earth to the Most High God. That's how he's always wanted it. What we try to do is defile his chosen. So God says, out of everybody on the earth, I choose this, and this is what I want. And we say, okay, come on, Susie, come on, Ubuntu, come on, Ushalam, or whoever. We try to bring every other nation like that's what he called. And we're defiling his truth. We're defiling his will. His will was for us to be his holy or his set apart, not everybody. So that's what we must keep it as. And we must fight to keep it as such. That's why Dr. Martin Luther King's dream went against the Lord. He had a dream that one day a little white girl or black guy, black boy, whatever, could walk down the street holding hands. God didn't want that. That was basically a sign of integration. He didn't want integration. Integration didn't help us. Because now we put the power into essentially the whites' hands to uplift our community. When at first we had the power because we had our own doctors, our own lawyers, our own businesses. Everything was on, however we flowed, it was on us. But now we put that power into them. And now we're begging them hand and foot. And now every neighborhood that we have that's majority us is a hood or a ghetto. Where before, look it up, before integration, 80% of black households were married. And that was by far the highest rate. So out of every nation on earth, blacks were marrying at the highest rate, meaning we knew to stick together. We understood the value of each other. Even then, Martin Luther King has a dream, wants to integrate us with everything the other color. And guess what? Now, marriage is laughable in our community. Kids don't even think about getting married. It's an afterthought. And yes, we have to fix that. This is why our children are being raised in such horrible conditions. This is why our children are being essentially put further back from success because they don't have mommy or they don't have daddy. They don't see a loving dynamic between mommy and daddy. Mommy wants to try to overcome and circum daddy. Daddy doesn't want to step up and be daddy. All that's thanks to Martin Luther King's dream, because before his dream, we didn't have that issue. The woman knew to submit to her man. It wasn't even a thought. The man knew that he was responsible for that woman, that those children, and everything under them. He knew that, and that's what he fought for. We at least knew that much before his dream. Let's read this. This is what the Lord wants. And ye shall be holy unto me, for I, the Lord, am holy, and have severed you from other people, that ye should be mine. He said, I severed you. What does it mean to be severed? That means he cut you off. There was everybody. Then he said, give me this portion. I don't care about that portion. Give me this. That this will be mine. And every time he does that, we, out of our own will, out of our own thoughts, out of our own way and understanding, we're severed, and then we go fight to be joined with everybody else. But I'm telling you, there's coming a time where the Lord will separate us again. It happens every time. Every time we try to join with these other nations, separates us. That's the Tower of Babel. He separated us. You understand? He's always separated us. Coming out of Egypt, he separated us. He's always separated us. We are to be separate to him. Even in Egypt, we were a separate people. Everybody knew the Hebrews or the Israelites lived in a certain city. The name is on the tip of my tongue, but I can't think of it right now. But even in Egypt, we were separate. Separation has always been a part of who we are and what we should be. You understand? That's how we have to live according to God. There is no other way around it. We have to live separate. Most High in Christ. So now let's get this to Jeremiah. Let's go to Jeremiah.